So the next person we have coming up is Josh Cunningham. Josh and I have known each other for a long time. I need to give credit to Josh. For the last 12 months, we started planning this event. Literally the week after last year's event, we had a Google Hangout and started planning this year's event. Frank has been a big part of that as well, and a handful of the other vendors. But Josh really has been the key person who really helped plan the scheduling, the different vendors that were going to be here, the topics that we're going to get discussed. So let's give him a round of applause for doing that. You can come up on stage. So Josh's last name is Cunningham, obviously, and my grandma, her maiden name's Cunningham, and I said to him one day jokingly, hey, maybe we're family. Well, I happen to be Mormon, and if you know the Mormon faith, they're like really crazy about genealogy, and so I went to somebody that goes to my church and said, hey, will you go look into my genealogy and see who my great-great-great-grandfather was, because he had given me the name of his great-great-grandfather, and we are seventh cousins, we discovered by looking at the genealogy. So now we jokingly always like, oh, we're cousins. I think we're all probably cousins if you go up high enough. But I always think that that's a really fun fact. I won't steal any of Josh's thunder. He'll tell his story, but he's built an amazing business. He used to be at Viral Marketing, now runs a company in College Station, Texas, has tons of millennials. He's going to talk today about millennial engagement, lead conversion. Rokrbox does an amazing job. The one thing I will say, a lot of people come to me and they're like, why don't your agents make the calls? Because if you hire Rokrbox, they're going to help with the outbound calls and lead quick conversion. Most agents won't make the calls. And obviously that's part of your culture, but if you're struggling with that, that's where Rokrbox becomes a solution. We still require a majority of our agents to do their own outbound dialing. We'd be fine. We've had agents on the team that have hired Rokrbox. I think some even right now are using Rokrbox, and that's totally fine, and that's how they want to go about getting all of their calls made. But we found over time, consistency is what wins when it comes to lead conversion, and Rokrbox is the best in the business. So let's put our hands together to welcome Josh to the stage.
Thanks, buddy.
Go get it, brother.
Thank you, Jeff. Thanks to all the members of the ERS here. Let's get a round of applause for Andy, Kevin, Jeff, Catherine for putting on such an amazing event. Also want to give a lot of credit to the speakers this morning. As a member of the audience, I've been very inspired by everybody's talk so far. Did everybody get a welcome bag from ERS when you checked in and get a notebook? So we've got some gifts for you today. The first gift is this notebook. So Rokrbox, I wanted to make sure each of you has a blank and empty pad of paper to take some notes with. My second gift that I'm going to give you is content to fill these pages with so that you can go home and don't go home and put this on the shelf and let it become shelf help. You must take action and let it become self-help and take action and improve your businesses. So hope you got your notebook. Like I said, I've been inspired by some of the speakers this morning. I actually, on the break, went back to my room and found an old poem that's very inspirational to me in all of my sales and marketing ventures. So I'd like to share this poem with you as a moment of reflection with some of the speakers this morning had to present to us. So, a lion met a tiger as they drank beside the pool. Said the tiger to the lion, "Why do you roar like a fool?" "That's not foolish," said the lion with a twinkle in his eyes. "They call me king of beasts because I advertise." A rabbit heard them talking and ran home like a streak. He thought he'd try the lion's plan, but his roar was just a squeak. A fox then heard the rabbit. He had dinner in the woods. So when you advertise, my friends, be sure you've got the goods. So this is the Team Building Summit, and we're talking about building teams and scaling things. And I think a recurring message that I heard many, many times over this morning is that you've got to be sure that you've got the goods. So what you're going to learn today from this talk is I'm going to give you a behind-the-scenes look at the Rokrbox story, the good, the bad, the ugly of our growth, our scaling, the lessons that we've learned and failed forward. We're also going to talk a little bit about the millennium workforce invasion. I don't know if many of you are aware, but the workforce is shifting significantly in the very near future, and there's going to be dominant majority shared by millennials. So I'm going to share with you some of the secrets that we've learned here, having hired and trained over 250 millennials, and how to attract, hire, train, and retain the top millennial talent. And then the last thing we're going to look at here is the customer life cycle in today's day and age. We've been doing this for 6 years. There have been obviously some changes and some disruption in the industry. So we're going to look at exactly what today's customer life cycle looks like, how you can actually convert a complete stranger into a happy and satisfied customer. Are you aware that the definition of luck is when preparedness meets opportunity? I say this quite often, and my professional career was significantly shifted one night in a Las Vegas nightclub about 8 years ago. How many of y'all like to do Las Vegas? How many of y'all have ever heard of Las Vegas? Okay. So something happened to me in a Las Vegas nightclub that changed my life forever. I didn't hit the jackpot, and I didn't get anybody pregnant, but I met this guy right here, Frank the Tank Kluzitz. 8 years ago at a nightclub in Las Vegas at a Mike Ferry Superstar Retreat, I met this guy Frank, and we started talking about business, and we started talking about sales, and we talked about entrepreneurship, we talked about real estate, we talked about marketing. I'm like, man, this is a really cool guy. I guess he must be a real estate agent at this real estate conference like everybody else. And then I went home, and I started following him on Facebook, and I realized that this company that he had, Viral Marketing, which at the time had about 30 clients, was doing some really cool cutting edge stuff with the top realtors in the country. I saw all the people that were on stage at the Mike Ferry event were his clients. And they were all doing really cutting edge, ahead of its time stuff like database marketing, video marketing, social media marketing. And so I literally reached out to Frank. This is that opportunity, right? And I said, Frank, how can I work for Viral Marketing from College Station, Texas? I did not want to move to Omaha. I'm sorry, Jeff. I'm more of a Texas guy. So I literally reached out to Frank on his Facebook wall and said, what's it going to take? He said, hey, if you're serious, let's talk. And I said, dead serious, let's chat. And so we spent probably the whole week on the phone, every single evening. You were completely transparent about your business, how you got clients, how you were generating revenue, how you could grow the company. And you said, hey man, if you want to be a part of this, hop on board. I don't know how I'll pay you and I don't know what you're going to contribute, but the opportunity's there. And so that's exactly what I did. And it was a bit nostalgic last night flying into the Omaha airport, because the first time I did that was about a week after August 23rd, 2011. And that was to fly up here and visit Frank and see the Viral World Headquarters as it was. It was about a one-room office with John and Andre and one intern. And so at that point in time, I became the third employee at Viral Marketing. And the reason why I say, definition of luck is when preparedness meets opportunity is because it took that leap of faith for me. I walked away from a salaried position as a recruiter for a real estate team, and I said, hey, I see you're rolling with the right people, and you've got cutting edge stuff. I want to be a part of your tribe. And how can I be a part of that? And so over the next 2 years, I had one of the most unique and expensive educations in the real estate world that you can get. See, Frank and I literally spent almost 2 or 3 weeks out of every single month on the road, traveling to every single event that we could get our hands on. Whether it was Mike Ferry, or NAEA, or RATE, Radio and Television Experts, Keller Williams, Century 21, RE/MAX, you name it, we were at the event. Learning how we could obviously grow and scale viral marketing. But along the ways, you get to hang out with a lot of the top real estate agents in the country, and you get to go to dinner with them, you get to have drinks with them at the bar, you get to learn about what makes them tick, what motivates them, how they're successful, what are their keys to winning. But most importantly, you get to learn about what their frustrations are. And so in 2011, the seed was planted. There I am right there with the Boomtown Elite, Rivers and Greer, at the first Boomtown event ever. It was before it was ever even called Unite. They had their first annual event in Charleston, South Carolina, and Frank and I flew in for what we thought was just a one-day mastermind. And there was about 50 of the top agents in the country, and they all went around the room and said, share with us one thing that you're doing really well, and share with us one thing that's really frustrating. And about 80% of the people in the room said something along the lines of, well, I've got all these leads and my agents don't follow up with them, right? It's that old, back to the poem, right? If you don't want to just buy a bunch of internet leads if you don't know how to follow up with them. You don't want to recruit a bunch of agents to your team if you don't have a hiring and training process, right? So it was the old, build it and they will come mentality. It was broken. There was too many leads. There was not enough follow-up. So that's where the seed was planted. And about 2 years later, I was working with one of my clients, Spring Benson out of Salt Lake City, Utah. Unique coincidence. She's also the wife of Brian Charlesworth, from the owner of Sisu. So let's hear it for Brian. Very lucky man. So Spring was one of my best friends. She was one of my clients at Viral Marketing, and she had a Boomtown account, and she had agents, and the agents were lazy. Can you believe that? And so she had the frustration that a lot of realtors had that were generating internet leads. And so every time I would be on the phone with her, I would say, oh, Spring, you need to do this, or you should do that, or you could do this. And I was going to all these real estate masterminds and hearing about the ISA model, the inside sales agent. Don't give the leads to the agents, give them to your inside sales agent, and then they'll dole them out when they're hot and ready to go. So I said, Spring, that's what you need to do. You need to do the ISA model. It's super simple, super easy. Just do what all these other people are doing. So she finally challenged me. She said, Josh, it's much easier said than done. Why don't you actually help me do it? And I was like, oh, that sounds like a cool one-time project. Sure, sign me up. So I actually flew out to Utah and spent 2 months working with her and her team. This was her team. And this was the first ISA in rokrbox history, Carly. And I spent 2 months with her working on scripts and dialogues and all the ins and outs and all the hypothetical models of what it takes to convert online leads. And after about 2 months of getting really good at calling and handling objections and scheduling appointments, but not having a license and handing out big commission checks to people, what do you think Carly went and did? She went and got a real estate license. Crazy, right? Who would have ever thought? So Carly then became an agent on Spring's team, and there we were back at square one. So we had figured out the model of how to convert online leads, but the problem was we just didn't have the talent to fill that role, which is the problem that most people have, right? We all know the work needs to be done day in and day out. It's just a matter of who's actually gonna wake up and do it, and who's gonna hold that person accountable and make sure that they do it every single day. And so at that point in time, I said, Spring, this is more than just a one-time project, which we failed at. This is gonna be a full-time job. This is gonna be a full-time company. And I think I have a solution for the talent. I'm gonna go back to College Station, Texas, which is home to Texas A&M University. And despite all the Aggie jokes, it is actually a very prestigious university. We get about the top 10% of the high school graduating classes. And most of the students are extracurricular everything. And in fact, if you'd like a taste of the quality of talent that we have, just talk to any of the guys in the orange shirts or any of the guys back at the rokrbox booth, because those are our own homegrown talent that we recruited as $9 an hour callers and had developed them into prospectors and account managers. So that was the plan at the time. I'm gonna go back to College Station. I'm gonna hire all these sharp and enthusiastic college students that are looking to invest in themselves and further their success and further their careers because they're in a college town. And I'll just borrow their talent while they're in this town and they'll make the calls. Easy solution, right? Well, that was the idea, and that was the solution. We call ourselves rokrbox. This is what an old rokrbox is. It's a gold mining tool used to separate the sand and the gravel from the actual gold flakes. So if you think of the analogy there, that's what we're working for. We got to get through all that dirt, all that sand, all that gravel, but when we find those flakes of gold, it makes it all worthwhile. And so we call ourselves rokrbox. We spell it a little differently. And what we are is we're the premium real estate ISA solution for identifying serious buyers and sellers from internet leads. And so that was the vision 6 years ago. And I'm proud to stand in front of you today and say that here we are 6 years later. If you would do me a favor, actually, if you go to facebook.com/rokrbox, and it's spelled ROKRBOX, we've got tons of great content on there. I'd love to get your like today. But this is actually an interview that we just did last week with Spring. She's been on our services for 6 years now. And we talk about all the lessons learned, all the secrets to success that she's used to leverage rokrbox and grow and scale her business nearly threefold. And in fact, when we were doing this hangout last week, we logged into her Sisu account, coincidentally, and calculated that her ROI with both rokrbox and Boomtown and all the money that she's pouring into her ad spend, right now, Sisu shows us is 421% ROI. So for every dollar she gives us, we give her back $4.21. How many dollars do you think she wants to give us? Lots and lots and lots of dollars, right? So the good news is it works. Give us a like on Facebook. We've got lots of success stories like this. I don't have all the time in the world to talk today about what we do, but if you want to, you can hear straight from the horse's mouth right there. Our first client ever. She's tripled her business. That first ISA became Rookie of the Year on her team, and almost every year she has a Rookie of the Year on her team just because she's built and developed the foundation for success that people just come in, they plug into the system, and they crush it. Just like Sam over here at ERS. She's been in real estate now for just a couple months. You plug into the right system and you're crushing it now. So that's what Spring has in her business, is she has a consistent system for generating revenue, and one of the sources is through internet leads. So she can teach that, she can share that with you. Give us a like on Facebook. So, like I said, that's really our key to success here at rokrbox, is the fact that I said, I'm gonna utilize this talent pool in College Station, Texas. So now let's shift for a moment and talk a little bit more about the millennial workforce invasion. About 2 years ago, only about a third of the workforce was represented by millennials. And if you look here, in 2025, it's estimated that 75% of the workforce is gonna be made up of millennials. So it used to be kind of some funny joke that you could kind of ignore and just, look the other way and be ignorant of it, is now going to be a harsh reality that we're all going to have to deal with. So here are some lessons learned, and having hired and trained 250 millennials over the last 6 years, that I can share with you. So hopefully you'll learn some culture tools and some tips that you can actually go back to your business and implement immediately to start attracting and hiring and training this new workforce. But also these are things that a lot of people in general just like. So they're really good culture tools. That's been kind of the theme of the message of today that you can implement to your business. So what are the things that they're looking for? First of all, they're looking for meaningful work, right? Just the fact that you have a paycheck is not meaningful enough anymore, right? They want to get something out of it. They want to be working for a purpose-driven organization. They want to know that their efforts are appreciated. The next thing that they're going to look for is a creative outlet, right? Again, a job isn't just something that has a paycheck at the end of it. It's a way of self-discovery, to find out more about ourselves, to find out the things that we love, to find out the things that we don't love, to find out what gives us satisfaction and what we really want to do to contribute to the world. They also really love team-oriented environments. Lots of group projects. Everybody's advice and input counts. Again, we're going to talk about some exercises and some practices of ways that you can get that out of your team as well. And then the last thing here that we're going to talk about is close and immediate feedback. Again, the joke is that everybody has, everybody in this generation had a trophy, but just as humans, right, we're all naturally competitive. So what happens with the generation that everybody was awarded a trophy, they actually have more of an opportunity to get more close and immediate feedback because they've never actually got it before. So again, these are going to be some of the things that we talk about around this millennial workforce. So let's rewind the clock back to July 2013 and take a look at the rokrbox World Headquarters. There it is, and all the employees, me, myself, and I. So that was the idea. This is where I left off with the spring story. Again, Carly decided she wanted to go become an agent. So we said, Carly, you go become an agent. I'm going to go start rokrbox. And so here was the idea. Just plug me into a headset, give me a bunch of lists. I'll plug into a bunch of CRMs and see what works. So I literally spent about 18 months myself, doing it myself, mastering the art, learning and perfecting what it takes to convert online leads, until I finally decided. And by the way, that last picture there, this is just in one of my friend's real estate offices, which actually looks kind of nice. But that's not near as nice as our first office that we had. Ooh, right? Right, this is pretty glamorous right here. A little 10 by 10 office suite in a nice crappy little building across campus. And the desk there, homemade by yours truly. And I had zero carpentry skills at all. So this is real bootstrapping days, guys. This is the rough and tough times. But these are the proud moments, right? So in January 2015, I finally decided, okay, I know what it takes to convert online leads. Let's start hiring people. Let's start taking this product to market and helping out as many people as we can. So January 2015, starting to hire employees, starting to say, hey, I go to Texas A&M, I go to the Career Center on campus, and I say, hey, we need to start attracting some students here to hire to do this work, right? Because people need this work done, so obviously people just want to do it, right? Not quite the case. So I put some sort of ambiguous job posting on A&M's career website, like part-time real estate assistant. Sounds like you might be like working for a real estate agent part-time, like filing their paperwork or stuff. It doesn't say anything at all about how you're going to get rejected over the phone, you're going to get your teeth kicked in, you're going to get all sorts of mean, nasty, hateful things said to you, right? It was a very ambiguous job posting. And so as we started hiring the first round of employees, what we ran into was some hiring struggles. And again, we thought we have a problem to solve, right? These people are just going to show up and help us solve it. And so I'll never forget one of the first handfuls of employees that we had hired. Again, we disc profiled them. We would do an over the phone interview. We would do an in-person interview. So we had a really good idea that they would be good at the work that we do, but they just had no clue at all what work we actually did. So this one gentleman comes in for his first day at rokrbox and comes in for his training, and McKinley's setting him up on the dialer. And of course we use Mojo Dialer, which makes 3 different phone calls at the same time. We also master all the CRMs, so we have literally 2 screens pulled up at the same time. You got your CRM, you've got your dialer going, we've got scripts, we've got dialogues, we've got objection handlers. There's just tons of stuff coming at this guy on day one, right? And we're just literally just fire hose dumping all the information onto him because we figured he'd be good at the job. And so here's all the stuff that you're going to have to do. You're going to call these people and you're going to learn all these scripts and you're going to get your teeth kicked in and you're going to get rejected, but that's totally cool. We just keep moving forward and we're totally hitting with the fire hose. And so about 15 minutes into his training, he's like, excuse me, could you point me in the direction of the restroom? And so he heads off to the restroom and we never see the guy ever again. right? About 15 minutes go by, and McKinley finally had to send someone in there just to verify what was true, which was that we had conned this guy into doing this work, right? Because he didn't know what was expected of him. And so that's not the right way to go, right? You don't necessarily want to trick people into doing the work. I'm very entrepreneurial at heart, so if I see a problem, I'll go solve it, but not everybody's wired that way. So the problems that we had with hiring is that the candidates did not have clear expectations of what we wanted from them. And so here was the solution. Again, we had a really great hiring process. We did a phone interview, we did an in-person interview, and so this is what we decided. This is what helped us out quite a bit. Is we decided to invite them to an observation. And so what we would do is at the end of the in-person interview, we would tell them, I feel like your qualifications are great. I've been very impressed with your in-person interview, with your resume, with your DISC profile. I feel like you would be really great at the work that we do here. The next step in the interview process, however, is to invite you back for an observation. This is your interview of us. So we want you to ask us as many questions as possible, and we're going to pair you up with one of our most senior representatives for a full hour, and they're going to give you a full tour of every single thing that we do in here. So you're going to see how the shift starts, you're going to see the calls that we make, you're going to see the technology that we use, you're going to see the scripts that we use, you're going to see the dialer, you're going to see how the office is laid out, how we celebrate our successes, how we set our goals. You're literally going to get a full entire hour to drink from the fire hose. And at that point, we want you to go home and then write us an email and let us know how much of a fit you feel like you would be within our organization. And so this right here is just again, if you haven't already, I'm gonna get your like by the end of this talk. Facebook.com/rokrbox. Again, we've got tons of content like this up on Facebook. We do Facebook live streams in our office of our trainings, presentations, things like that. So give us a like. But this is an actual tour that we did about a year ago of our office, where we just kind of walked through and gave everybody just kind of a brief glimpse of what an observation would be like. And so this helps us with recruiting, also helps us with bringing in new clients. But this is an actual look inside of our office of exactly, this is the team that you could hire. This is the team that could be working for you. So again, in the hiring process, it does one of two things. Number one, it makes the people that want to be a part of our organization have to turn around and resell us on why they would be such a great culture fit within our organization before they ever even clock in. And number two, for the people who aren't attracted to this type of organization, guess what we hear from them? Nothing at all, ever again. Which is great. That's exactly how I would like it. I don't need to waste my trainer's time. I don't need to waste my manager's time putting you through orientation or putting you through your first 20 hours of training just for you to find some excuse to finally quit one day. Like, we want you to know up front, this is our standard. Do you meet it? Are you excited? Is this going to drive you? Is this going to motivate you? If not, no big deal. Just go find some other place that does. So this is an example of an observation. I would encourage each and every one of you, as you're trying to find more people to add to your team and to grow that team, again, don't just tell them about the roar of the lion. Show them how the lion roars. All right? Next thing, here we are, May 2015. We're growing. So this is that same one room in all of its glory. I had to take out the couch now, though, and I've got to build some more desks, right? Got the more desk photos right there. There's actual proof that these were built for me, right? So May 2015, we were blowing and going, right? We finally told the world, hey, we can call all your internet leads. And of course, everybody wants to sign up. So we go from like 4 to 24 clients in a handful of months. So we're blowing and going in this same office, and we're hiring more people. We now have an observation in place, so we're not wasting our time with the wrong people. The people that are coming in are self-selecting themselves. They want to be there. They're motivated. They want to be a part of our team. And at this point, we now have a little bit of a team. I can tell you probably one of the greatest milestones that we hit in rokrbox history was when we actually had more than one person in the room. Because for the longest time, literally, it was just me, and then I started hiring people to take off the time when I was not there. But the greatest milestone we achieved was when we had more than one person in the room, because the growth curve just accelerates exponentially, because you have competition, people can learn from each other, you can share from each other's experiences, you have a little bit more support. So at this point, we've actually got a little bit of a team now. And so it's great, because when you start having this big picture problem of, hey, we follow up with internet leads, everybody kind of has their own way of approaching that. Everybody kind of has their own way of having that conversation or asking certain questions. But what happens when you have more than one person doing it is you start to build off of that. You start to grow from your experiences. You start to grow from your perspectives. And so one of the issues that we ran into, though, is that here we are, we have multiple people doing one thing different ways. and there's no consistency in what the best practices are, and what the standards are, and what the policies are, and what the procedures are. And this might sound like where a lot of y'all's businesses are right now. You know, I kind of do something this way, Susie does it that way, Carl does it his way, right? But there's no standard. And your standard is what you're willing to allow the weakest person to get away with. So I would highly encourage you to start creating and formalizing what those standards are, and to do it through a mastermind. So rather than say, oh my gosh, you guys are all doing it differently, here's the right way to do it coming directly down from me, you know. Corporate just phoned in, this is how they want us to do things now. That's not the type of organizations that we're building. We want to build our organization from the bottom up, right? We want to use all the content, all of the experiences, all the perspectives from everybody in the organization. So even when it was just me and a handful of college students, I basically said, hey guys, would y'all come in next Thursday and I'll buy us pizza? And if you'll come in, would you just show up and share with me one idea that you think that we're doing really well, and one idea that you think that we suck at right now, and we'll just start building this. And so we literally started those masterminds about 4 or 5 years ago with just me and one pizza and like my first 3 employees. And now they've grown quite a bit. We literally, we'll take out half of our office, order a stack of pizzas, and invite all the employees in, and none of them are clocked in at this point. Let you know that. So these are all hourly employees, they're all part-time college students. We basically bribe them with a little bit of pizza, but they all volunteer their time to show up because they want to invest in the company and they want their opinion to be heard and they want it to matter. It's not required to be there, it's optional. However, probably about 80 to 90% of our employees always show up, unless they have some extenuating circumstances, testing or exams or something. But essentially what we do is we start the mastermind by giving everybody an opportunity to recognize someone else in the room for living by the core values. And it's a great way to encourage, obviously, we love recognition from above, but peer accountability is the great type, peer recognition is the best type of recognition that we can give. And so every mastermind, we do these monthly. At the start of the mastermind, it's literally like you can tell people have been biting their tongue for like a month just because they couldn't wait to get to the next mastermind to shout out their buddy for following one of the core values. So it normally lasts a few minutes at the very beginning. Someone will say, hey, I want to recognize Brady for having fun while being the best. And then Brady will be like, I want to recognize Austin for having the mindset of a champion, because I saw him do this the other day. So it's a really, really great way to kind of get the energy up at the beginning of the mastermind. So recognition of core values, super simple. And then at that point, everybody just goes around in a circle like this. Hey, Tommy, stand up. What are we doing well? And he's writing over here the things that we're doing well, and he's writing over here the things that we're not doing really well. Do y'all think y'all could do that? Ask everybody on your team, what are we doing well and what are we not doing well? Because here's what you do, everybody goes around and they talk about from their perspective, whether they've been there for 2 days or 2 years, their perspective is appreciated, it's important. And so we get this whole list of positives and we get to go through and recognize, hey, we're doing this great. And actually we're doing this great because we created that policy, that last mastermind, and now we can actually see what used to be one of our weaknesses is actually one of our strengths. Isn't that awesome? Recognition, recognition, recognition. And then we get to the negative list here, and what's great is because you just collected everybody's individual perspective, a lot of times you're gonna notice like on the list, there might just be 1 or 2 things that just stood out redundantly. And there's the 2 or 3 biggest problems you have in your business right there. Right? You didn't have to figure it out. You didn't have to analyze a bunch of numbers and then come down on your people and say, these numbers don't look good, you're doing terrible. Just ask them. From your perspective, what's the biggest opportunity we have? What's the biggest inconsistency we have? Right? What do we suck at? What can we improve at? And so we go through all the ideas, and then we start brainstorming what are ways that we can solve these. And so at the end of the mastermind, we normally have a list of about 5 or 6 action items. And then from those action items, we'll go through our manager meeting and just kind of double check them and make sure that they look good, and then we'll roll them out as policy. And so over the last 3-4 years, we've had a mastermind every single month. And if you walk around our office, you'll notice all sorts of signage and posters and booklets and pamphlets and Google Drives and Dropbox documents. Every single piece of literature in our company, I didn't have to create. My people created for us because I empowered them through masterminds. So I encourage each and every one of you, go home tomorrow, buy a pizza, and ask people, what are we doing well and what are we not doing well at? And how can we solve those problems together? So fast forward, September 2015, as you can see, we are busting at the seams now. That's the original room on the right, and now we've knocked over into the other room in here to the left. More homemade desks. If you guys want the blueprints of these desks, I sell them separately. So I'm very proud of them, as you can tell. We are busting at the seams here. The air conditioner can barely even keep up with us as we're cooking in there. It's like 80 degrees in the summer. And we're crushing it, man. We're bringing in the right talent. So the observation process is weeding out the wrong people and attracting the right people. And then the masterminds now are great because we're actually getting some documented best practices and providing a really good opportunity for people to share those. But something happened this year in September, and it happens every year in September in College Station, and that's the school starts back up. And so we had just spent an entire summer investing into this talent and creating this opportunity for them to bring in the right talent and to mastermind and share best practices and get even better. But when September 2015 rolled around and classes started back up, a lot of the people on our team, unfortunately, just looked at this as another part-time job. And that was our failure as a leadership team. That was our failure as a company, because our biggest retaining challenge was that we were not making the work fun, meaningful, and fruitful. See, I saw this opportunity as the first step in their young professional career. I saw this as the best paid internship they could ever have. But I failed to communicate that to them, and I failed to make it known how this can be such a fruitful and a fun and enjoyable experience in your life. And so at that point in time, we realized we needed to implement a new culture tool to our business. And what we implemented was a huddle. A daily huddle. Every single person comes to our business every single day with all sorts of stuff going on in their life. And of course, we're hiring part-time college students, so there's 3 4-hour shifts throughout the day. Every single one of those shifts starts with a new energy, a new group of people, and they all just came in from other distractions in the outside world. So the only way that we can make sure that we're all taking off from same solid ground is to start with a daily huddle. And so this is kind of what one of our daily huddles looks like today. Again, if you like us on Facebook, it's facebook.com/rokrbox. There's tons of content on there. Tons of office views, and this has audio as well. You can actually listen to the huddles and listen to the masterminds and all that stuff. But essentially, a huddle has 4 components. Actually, before the 4th component, what this gentleman was just explaining right there is that he actually locks up their cell phone. So we actually do require our employees to lock up their cell phone before they actually work. So talk about breaking a millennial sort of mindset right there. That's one of the lessons that I've taught our team, is that there's an exchange of value. You know, you input time and you export money. And so I expect a full amount of work whenever our employees clock in, and so they're distraction free. They literally lock up their cell phone before they even start the shift. And they know that they're going to get a full paycheck for that. So anyway, that's the first step, is locking up the cell phone. I don't know if y'all will be able to pull that on your team. The first step, though, in the huddle is recognition. So what we're doing right now is we have KPIs, we have metrics within our business every single day. What are we doing? What do we use to celebrate successes? What do we do to identify failures? And so we share those. And what we've also done is we've taken our team and we've divided them into squads. So we don't have another rokrbox to compete with. We're not like a KW Market Center where we can stack our numbers up against everybody. So what we do is we just divided up our own company into different squads so that we can create internal competition with each other. So at the very beginning of the huddle, what we have here is everybody sharing their numbers from the previous day for their squad. And then we're also offering an opportunity for people to recognize each other for living by the core values, as we do. And talking about our top guns, top performers for the day. And the other thing that we do is we're always, I think Andy did a really good job on his one-on-one coaching here, talking about how everybody is a little bit different. You know, we're not just sitting here trying to crush it and get as many opportunities as possible. We're trying to help each person establish what their goals are and what their standards are and help them move forward. So what we're celebrating here is that someone met their goal. For someone who's been with me for 2 years, that goal might be much higher than someone who's been with us for 2 weeks. So find those standards that you can have that everybody can celebrate successes along the way. So that's the first step, is recognition. The second thing is education. You shouldn't show up to work every day just to clock in and clock out and get a paycheck. You should be showing up to become a better, improved version of yourself at the end of the day. And so that education portion of the huddle allows us to actually engage with people on a script or a dialogue or a question or an objection, something that we're going to be challenged with today that we can actually practice really quickly before we start our day. So that's the education portion. Find a part of your script, find a common objection. Maybe there's something going on because of the timeliness of the market right now, right? Talk about that up front. The third thing is connection. So again, we have a team of a bunch of part-time college students, and we work 80 hours a week. So there's lots of non-overlap. So a lot of these people don't always work with each other all the time. But we do want to create that family environment where we're familiar with each other and we're connecting with each other and we're getting deeper. So I actually went on Amazon and found a little, it's like a deck of cards. and their dinner party conversation starter. Like, what was your favorite superhero as a kid, and what's your dream vacation, and just some thought-provoking questions that sometimes make you learn a little bit more about yourself, but we basically go around the circle and share it with everybody. So sometimes you get to learn a little bit more from people than you would just showing up and doing a job together. So that's the third thing, is connection. And then the last thing is motivation. So we're about to break the huddle, we're about to go to battle together. You know, what are the standards that we want to hold each other to, and what do we want to celebrate? So everybody will state their goals for the day and have an opportunity to get rah-rah huddled up with a little break of the huddle. And so that's the motivation factor. So 4 easy steps: recognition, education, connection, and motivation. And that's a daily huddle. So those are some of the culture tools that we find to be very, very effective within our business, that have helped us build and establish the culture that we desire. Now, this slide right here basically talks about the sales funnel, the talent engine funnel. Everything in life is a funnel, right? We were just talking about that at lunch. But essentially, we're looking at attracting, we're looking at hiring, we're looking at training, and we're looking at retaining. I said we had hiring challenges, so you should have an observation. We had training challenges, you should have a mastermind. We had retaining issues, so you should have a huddle. But what about attracting traffic? How do we attract talent to our organization? Well, you attract talent through your culture. Right? That's the theme that's been going on all day long, right? And so if you feel like you're just providing a solution to a problem, you're gonna have some really, really, really big issues with attracting people. Instead, what you have to do is you have to define what your why is. Discover what your organization is all about. Why does your organization exist? Not just to cash commission checks on real estate houses, right? There's gotta be a deeper meaning. There's gotta be a deeper purpose, especially if you're looking at adapting to this millennial workforce, right? You need to be a purpose-driven organization. And so that's what we've been at rokrbox from day one. We've been a purpose-driven organization. I obviously saw the opportunity working with Spring that I could help her move people through the sales funnel. What was really exciting was when we saw the careers of the agents being shaped. Carly on her team went from being, part-time ISA to Rookie of the Year, a real estate agent. So we helped move her career forward. And then we also, with Spring, she's tripled her business over the last 6 years. We've helped her move her business forward. And for me, what's really exciting is, from my perspective, day in and day out, is I get to see our team at rokrbox, all the young professionals, all the Texas A&M college students. I get to see how the impact that this company has on their careers and their futures, and how we help them move forward. And so I'm very proud to say that in a day and age when a college degree doesn't necessarily mean as much as it used to, every single one of our graduates walks the stage with multiple job offers because of the experiences that they have at rokrbox. And again, it all started by developing core values from day one. So these are the core values up on our wall. It's not just cool, neat artwork. As you can tell, we acknowledge each other and recognize each other for living by these values every single day. But these are the same 5 values that I wrote on a scratch piece of paper on a flight to one of my first beta clients 6 years ago. Because I thought to myself, okay, obviously agents need help following up with internet leads. But if I'm gonna build an organization and I'm gonna show up to work every single day, who are the type of people that I wanna be around? And so I sat down and I jotted down 5 core values that were all derived from my previous professional experiences. Entrepreneurial, big box retail, restaurant, service industry, real estate. And I sat down and I wrote down those 5 core values, and I've been checking them monthly, weekly, daily with our organization to make sure that this is actually who we are. Because if you create that culture and you're very, very, very persistent about what you stand for and what you don't stand for, then you create this environment, this culture that people are attracted to. The right type of people are attracted to. And the wrong type of people just keep walking and they move right along. And that's no big deal. And that's exactly what you want. And so for me, the greatest compliment to our culture is, like I said earlier, when we invite those candidates in for an observation and we send them home. So this isn't somebody that doesn't work for rokrbox. They just come in, they observe us for an hour. We send them home and we say, write back to us and let us know how you feel about our organization. And these are some of the remarks that we get back. A lot of positive reinforcement. This company is different. A great experience that can better me for my future. Makes me excited to be able to learn. Supportive and uplifting. Family rather than just coworkers. High energy and competitive attitude. Successes are rewarded. Has fun with each other while also focusing on the task at hand. I feel that I would start to become addicted to meeting my goals at work. This is for a part-time $9 an hour job where you call people that registered to look at pictures of homes on the internet. You also heard that we like to celebrate our successes. It started once we started generating profits in the early days. We said, hey, let's go to a tailgate party. So we did a catered tailgate party for our team. And then one day we decided, you know what? We love celebrating our success. Let's do a pool party. And so we did a pool party, and that's annualized every single year, year after year, and turned into a tradition. And then this is actually a video from last year's Christmas party. This thing has blown up quite a bit. It just was originally us having dinner at a local restaurant, and now it's literally like a full-scale, almost wedding ceremony. We've got an awards banquet, we have a dance, DJ. We just literally go all out for these individuals because we want to show them our appreciation for the work that they do. And obviously, we love to help them move forward, but they obviously help us move forward in our lives as well. So we definitely love celebrating our successes. Again, I love to show this video because this just shows you the type of culture, the type of fun, the type of meaning that you can provide in this world, no matter what type of work you're doing, even in an environment as unsexy as following up with internet leads. Here's the famous slide, Frank. Oh, Frank's not even here for this. Here's the famous slide that Frank was talking about earlier. So now that you guys know a little bit more about our culture and who we are, I'm just going to kind of explain how we fit into the customer's life cycle in today's online lead generation business. Frank briefly went over this. Again, the customer life cycle, you have to attract traffic, capture leads, nurture prospects, convert leads. You have to obviously service them. The biggest myth in real estate is that you sell homes. You don't actually sell homes. What you sell is professional real estate services. So the conversion is actually when you get them to sign the agreement, and then you have to deliver what's in that agreement, and obviously close and get referrals on the back end. So this is the slide that Jeff wanted me to share with you all because it shows how, I love how the Team Building Summit does this. It's a very unified message that all of these vendors, and like Jeff said, are vetted. They're used by elite real estate systems. But this is how we all fit in line together. So when it comes to attracting traffic, you're talking about AdWords, Facebook, Craigslist. You know where to get those. When we talk about capturing leads, where do you go for that? Boomtown. Boomtown's got your great capture form. They're going to collect all the people, all the visitors to your website. You need to nurture those people. You got to call, email, text. That's what rokrbox does. Well, now we just identified a bunch of hot leads. What do you do with them then, Andy? Are all agents created equal? No, you're going to have one-on-ones with them and have standards and coach with them, right? These are all the things that ERS teaches you, how to actually convert deals and how to actually service your clients, right? And then what we know is at the end of the day, you're going to use .lube for your contract close software, and then viral marketing over here. If you do everything right, you get someone all the way through the funnel. You don't want to lose track of them. You need to stay in touch with them over time, and that's what viral helps you do. So here's the math of today's customer life cycle. Going to do it for you real quick. For every 1,000 leads you have to your website, the averages are only about 100 people register, so 900 people just bounce out. Of those 100 people that register, when we put them through our process at rokrbox, we're going to identify about 10 people that say that they're ready to speak to a real estate agent about buying a home. We don't know what happens when we give the leads to you, but that's why we love ERS, because they provide lots of solutions and coaching to actually help your agents close deals. But what we do know is in .loop, of those 10 opportunities we identified, 1 to 3 of them are going to wind up closed in .loop. And then if you follow our viral marketing strategy correctly, you'll get 10% of those on the back end by staying in touch with them with your monthly content. So there's the math right there of today's customer life cycle. Again, guys, my time's about run out here. I know that we went through quite a bit today. I've got one last bonus for you guys. So I know we talked a lot about the things you're going to learn today. One last exercise we do at rokrbox is called ahas and oh yeahs. So another exercise that we do is we have workshops with our team, and at the end of the workshop, we all go around the room and everybody shares either an aha, which is something that they learned that they hadn't known before, or an oh yeah, which is something that they're reminded of that they already knew, and they just are going to go take action on it. So I'm going to ask y'all to give me some ahas and oh yeahs. So it just goes 1, 2, 3, aha. All right. So if you feel like you learned at least one new thing today that you can go and implement to your business and take action on immediately, make some money, why don't you give me an aha on 3? 1, 2, 3, aha. Let's try that again, guys. If you feel like you learned at least something new today that you can go and implement in your business and take action on immediately and make some money, put some money in your bank account, why don't you give me an aha? 1, 2, 3, aha. And if you feel like you were at least reminded of something that you've already known before that you're going to go and take action on and put some money in your bank account, why don't you give me an oh yeah on 3? 1, 2, 3, oh yeah. All right, thanks guys. Last thing here. There's many of you have a flyer in your bag as well, or on your table. If you want to know how we can stay in touch, again, give us a like on Facebook. Here's a recent interview we just did with Pat Hyben, Real Estate Rockstars. For those of you who don't know Pat Hyben, he's got a lot of great content. So give us a like on Facebook, and you'll stay in touch with us. That way, you'll get all of our free content, our stories, our podcasts, and everything. And lastly, on the flip side of that, you have basically what we do at rokrbox. Frank actually shot me an email a couple months ago and was like, "Hey man, have you heard about this company? Do you know what it is that they do?" And I gotta say, as an entrepreneur, our only competition is who we stare at in the mirror every single day, right? We need to focus on what we can do to improve our lives and make our businesses better. But as I do hear about competitors of rokrbox, I always give them a once over and I try to figure out what it is that they're trying to do to solve this problem, internet lead conversion. But nobody makes the calls, guys. Nobody wants to make the calls. It's the hardest thing to do. Nobody wants to make the calls. We do. We call the leads immediately. We call them 10 times in the first 2 weeks. We call your long-term leads monthly, and we call the old leads in your database. 5-star testimonials. Thanks so much for your time, guys. If you have any questions, come see us at the booth. Thank you.